Good morning, everybody. This is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship. I'm taking another trip over to the ranch. I didn't record a thing this morning, but taking another trip over there now, and I thought on this trip I would record something for you guys, just because something kind of came up, and I had a really good little dialogue with another trainer friend of mine on this particular issue, and what it was, somebody had just asked a really simple question on Facebook, in fact, and they just asked, you know, what's the difference between, say, a round snaffle mouthpiece and a square one? And my response is just really simple. A lot of times I don't like to give people the direct answers. I like to get people to kind of think a little bit. So I just ask a question. I said, well, would you rather sit on the edge of a 2x4, or would you rather sit on the side of a 2x4? And I just left it at that. And of course, some of my trainer friends out there kind of responded back, and one in fact said that he's got a square mouthpiece snaffle and just loves it and uses it quite frequently, and another guy responded back that he has one and he likes his, and I have to agree with both of them. I personally have I think one square mouth kind of snaffle bit, and I kind of like it too. But when do I use it, and when do I even show it to clients or even students for that matter? And the answer to that last part is almost never. I mean, I almost never show things like that, you know, square mouthpiece to clients or students or anything, unless of course we're just having, you know, a friendly discussion just about educating ourselves on it. But very rarely do I mention it much. And why would that be? Well, you see, number one, I don't like for people to get in the habit of looking to or turning toward shortcuts. You know, for those of you who have listened very much before, you know that I live and die by a quote that inch by inch life's a cinch, yard by yard life is hard, and I truly do believe in that inch by inch approach. Go slow to be fast. Take your time. Take whatever time it needs. In other words, don't get in a hurry. Don't try to take shortcuts. And so many times I see people try to get horses lighter and more responsive on their face, that instead of using good equipment and good timing, the most important thing there being good timing, they try to resort toward tricks or tools or something else. Well, if that's the case, then why the square mouthpiece snaffle? Well, just like I responded back with that question, you know, what would you rather sit on, the edge of a 2x4 or the side of a 2x4? The edge is more uncomfortable over time, isn't it? So when you sit on that one, you're only going to be able to sit there for a certain amount of time before you're going to get uncomfortable. But on this side, you'll be able to sit longer. Well, the same thing applies when I give a cue to a horse. A square mouthpiece is going to be a little less comfortable to the corner of that horse's mouth, or if it happens to bump the bars on that lower jaw, it might be a little more uncomfortable there. And I'm not trying to inflict pain or absolute discomfort on the horse, but I darn sure don't want them to get comfortable while they're doing something rude, such as rooting out at the nose or pushing against the bit. I just don't want them to get comfortable doing that. And or if they already have gotten comfortable with that, I can kind of make it less comfortable for them to do so. So I'll still be firm with my hands, and keep in mind when I say firm, I don't mean heavy, jerky, snatchy. Just mean firm. I'm just going to be firm. I'll pick up with my rein and expect the horse to give me a cue within a very reasonable amount of time. And what is that magic time? Depends on the age, the maturity, and the experience and the education of the horse. But I don't want them to get in a habit of being lazy and laying on me or being rude and pushing on me, you see. So that square mouthpiece bit in that case would give me that opportunity to offer the cue, offer that bit contact, and not allow the horse time to get comfortable on it, you see. And as soon as the horse learns that that bit is not something to get comfortable on, in other words, not something to look for to be rude against or push against it, then I'll immediately go back to that lighter bit. I'm always looking to go to the lightest thing I can possibly ride a horse with. And not that I'm looking to ride the horse with a piece of hay string in their mouth. It's just that I want to be very, in fact, I take a lot of pride in it, to try to get my horses to where they don't really respond to the bit. They respond to the weight of the rein attached to the bit. They respond to the weight of the lead rope attached to the halter. By the time I get to the bit, by the time I get to the halter, the horses kind of ran out of time. So I go to those other things, such as that square piece, simply to let the horse know that I don't want him to get comfortable on that, and I don't want him to be rude. And again, as soon as that behavior is changed and starts going back in the more positive direction, I kind of get out of that pretty quickly. But here's the question: well, why don't you just show all students that, since students don't have good hands or whatever? Maybe their timing's not as good as yours. Well, frankly, there's exactly why I don't put those other types of bits in the hands of the novice riders, the students, or those who don't really have that maturity and that experience to use a bit. In other words, if they can't use a really quiet, mild bit with good timing, why would I want to give them something more harsh, so that they could actually potentially scare the horse or frighten the horse, or maybe even inadvertently teach the horse to get dull even while sitting on the edge of the 2x4. Does that make sense? So I like to try to teach people, most importantly, that the time and the place and the knowledge. Just a really quick analogy. When would you give a young aspiring cowboy a pocket knife? Would you give it to him when he's 2 or 3 years of age, knowing that that knife is sharp? He could lose it. He could lose the knife, especially if it's a sentimental piece. He could lose the knife, or he could hurt himself or hurt someone with it. We don't give it to them when they're too young, do we? And it's not that the knife is that bad of a deal, but it is potentially dangerous in the wrong hands. So when do we give that knife to that child? When we understand that he's reached an age of maturity and an age of accountability to where we feel like we can trust him with it. But what do? We also still teach him that responsibility. We teach him how dangerous that thing is, potentially. We teach him maybe how sentimental that thing is to us or to the family, or that we really want that to be a cherished gift to him. So whenever I'm presenting a bit to someone, I want to make sure that they have that same maturity. Even if it's a colt or a student, whoever it may be, I want to make sure that they've reached that age of accountability, they've reached that level of maturity, so that they then can handle the responsibility. So very rarely am I ever against too many items. It's just that there's some items out there that I just love to see people get to a certain level in their skill set and a level in their horsemanship and understanding before they actually use those tools. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys. Thank you again for joining me this afternoon, or late morning actually, on the Ranch Road. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful Sunday. And until next time, this is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship.